Okay, welcome to the shipyard. I do not currently have video going because my computer is still being a problem, which is why this thing is starting 47 minutes late. Sorry, but hopefully some audio is good enough for now. I'm just making sure that everything's loud enough and good to go. Sorry for the mic noise. All right. So, thank you all for subscribing to the shipyard. 500 subscribers. What has now become 499 because somebody went and unsubscribed. Um, don't know why. Random people do random things. But yeah, 500. When this whole thing started, I never dreamed of being in this position. Well, I guess dreamed in a very grandiose sense of, hey, wouldn't it be cool if maybe someday 500 was 500? But 2 years ago, I didn't even know that there were 500 people that necessarily still cared about Star Trek Attack Wing, and you guys are proving me wrong day by day, and I love it. To watch Warp Core Breach get 200 downloads an episode regularly, to see the community thriving, to see shipyard videos getting the kind of traffic that they get. And granted, the preview videos that WizKids was able to give me product on, that didn't hurt anything. Um, but it, it got to this point of going, wow. A, there's a lot of you out there. B, this game still has some intrigue and some viability, uh, maybe despite WizKid's best efforts of doing what they do and mitigating it. And maybe we're coming to the end of a cycle. And, they've said Wave 24 is the start of big changes. And, we've kind of heard that before. But I kind of feel like this is maybe where Star Trek sat at the end of about 1985 or so. Star Trek 5 has come out, and nobody really knows what the next generation is going to be like. Nobody knows what Star Trek 6 holds. Um, but the future is bright with optimism. And to some people, it's going to be terrible. But to a lot of people, hopefully, it's a very good thing. So, if you're watching this, listening to this, feel free to ask questions. But until that comes up, let me talk about where the channel is headed. Um, First up, I'm going to be trying to crank out reviews a bit more frequently. I've been doing that these past couple of days. The Traeger just got posted. The Fina Prime, the Vidian ship, I did a couple of days ago. I've got a couple more in the works. I can actually give you what I have recorded right now. I just need to pull that list up. But I have another Patreon supporter who put in a request for the Samra, which will be quite interesting. I have some ideas of how to use the ship, but trying to use all the cards in an interesting way is going to be a challenge, to say the least. But there's some decent ones there. Let's see. Right now, I have the Equinox recorded, ISS Avenger, the Nevar, Prototype 01, and the Valiant. So that's kind of my backlog of recordings that I need to edit and post. So um, there's that Task Force Bravo, the campaign that Natasha, Robert, and I started will be kicking off here post regionals. So figure mid March we'll be getting that going. I've been writing story for how Craig's going to be coming into the story. He's playing an alpha hunter, Hirogen, and that will be quite interesting, I hope. Let's see. Yeah, he's going to be in the Delta Quadrant for a little bit, and then he'll be involved with the rest of the team. Um, yeah, Natasha will still be leading up that Alpha Beta task force. Robert's, of course, in the Bay Area, so he won't be around. As you saw at the end of the prologue, he was sent off on a different task force. But I've got ideas, and I'm always open to hearing more about what you guys want to see in that campaign, because that's a really fun way to go about things. And yeah, I was able to do some video for the Wandering Inn. Uh, I don't know if you guys know the Wandering Inn YouTube channel, but they do a Star Trek Attack Wing campaign, as well as other campaigns. They do an X-Wing campaign. They're filming a D&D campaign right now. Very interesting channel. Those guys do great work. But I play an Admiral for their Star Trek Attack Wing campaign, and it's a lot of fun. And I was able to do video for 3 different missions, and they've got a lot of good stuff coming up this season. So I'm really looking forward to them getting that content out. And I am not going to give you any spoilers for that because I sworn to secrecy, and that's their surprises to give, not mine. But it's good stuff. Let's see, what else can I be talking about? Regionals right now. I'm hearing good reports from the community that there's reasonable turnout in Glen Burnie, Maryland, and I heard numbers were low in Rochester, New York, but that's not too shocking. Um, haven't heard about numbers in Chicago, but I'm sure we'll hear something after the fact. And then I know that Washington and Modesto are tomorrow, so we'll know more from that. Um, and then I guess Texas is next week. So that'll be good. I think we're going to hear a lot of really good stuff from regionals, and know tons of builds and say, hey, this is a lot of cool stuff. I know we've got 15 people pre-registered for Modesto, and several more that I know of that are coming that just haven't pre-registered. So that'll be a very good turnout. I'm really looking forward to seeing a lot of people. It's it's going to be great to put faces with names and faces with voices, and whenever you can do that, you're bringing the community together. And yeah, everybody's there to compete and win a tournament, but people are also there to kick back and have fun and grow the community. And I was able to go by the store yesterday and look at all the the product and prizes for all three of the regionals. They're not hosting D&D Attack Wing, but HeroClix and Dice Masters, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of stuff. Uh, and it made sense why it was pallets and pallets of stuff that came in, and I'm just like, yikes. It's totally awesome. It's going to be totally worth it. Next weekend's going to be insane. I TO for Dice Masters as well, and I'm going, it's going to be a zoo. It's just going to be a zoo. So let me do this. If predictions on what I think might show up at regionals in California. I think that some really weird build is going to take the championship. I don't think it's going to be double bioships or double scimitars or a super scout cube or a super fed defense build. I think it's going to be some creative use of cards and combos, and maybe it'll be something that centers around flocks, or maybe it'll be something that centers around scan enhancers, or who knows. I, and that's kind of the cool thing right now is there's all these different things out there. Uh, it's going to be a build that can deal with double scimitars for sure. It's going to be a build that can deal with double, or not double, super fed defense, because if you can't beat Unimatrix shielding and Hood Riker and Paris and Sulu and all of that on the Thunderchild, good luck, because you're not going to win. You're going to face that, if not in Swiss, at some point in top 8, and that's when you're going to get your butt kicked. So you have to make that call, and you have to go, okay, how do I beat that if with my list? It's the person who can best have a list that does specific things and have a list that counters what their opponent does. The moment you have a list that doesn't have a means of messing with your opponent, you've lost a high level tournament. You can get away with that at an OP, at a casual night in mission play, and totally support that. You don't always have to have a counter to your opponent. But at a regional tournament, there's so many people that have finely tuned combos. You have to be able to stop them. And if you don't stop them, you're toast. So it's going to be the Jen Ciscos, the Golma Dreads, the second of fives, the maybe even Borg assimilation tubules, though that's really expensive. I don't know. And maybe it's the triple Golma Dread that just kills 3 captains and then hides in a corner. You know, it's perhaps anything, but a lot of this is going to come down to what boosters get pulled to. My venue's seen a lot of variety in what boosters get pulled and how they matter. The Bajoran loses. That's a fact of life. The Ferengi doesn't always lose because it's a perfect counter to fighters if your opponent has fighters. If it's not facing fighters, then, well, I've seen worse. The key is you have to have a means of making your opponent scan. So if you have Cloaked Mines and you pull the Ferengi, you're actually kind of happy. Then you're getting some better action economy out of the deal. So that's there. The Romulan, the Balok's going to be a fun booster to have. The Bioship is not a I win. The people who pull the Bioship will not necessarily be in top 8. It will certainly help because of the durability and the firepower, but it doesn't do everything for you. The low captain skill can be defeated. I've seen Bioships go down in round 1 of firing. And I've seen Bioship Omega go down in round 1 of firing before it gets to shoot, because an opponent just concentrated fire on it and their defense dice were poor. Now, is that the absolute rule? No. And does that mean that the opponent was spending all of their resources on that ship rather than the rest of the fleet? Yeah, but that's also 40 points right there. So you kind of have to take the good with the bad. And you do have to understand that ship is 40 out of 130. So if you can destroy it, it's kind of whatever you can do to get points. Let's see here. Recent ships that I've bought multiples of. So question is, what ships that have come out lately have I bought multiples of? That depends on how you define lately. So let's just go back and look at the waves that have come out. Nothing in wave 22, though the Kumari was close. Nothing in wave 21, though the Dreadnought's close because I really like the generic. Nothing in wave 20, that's the Hathaway, Halik Raider, Scorpion Attack Fighters. Hathaway's an awesome expansion, just not in doubles. 19, Delta Flyer. So, yeah. 18, Bioship Beta and Quark's Treasure. That's the last one I really, really cared about. Yeah, not a ton of doubles this year for me. Or, well, 2015. 2015, the only ships I doubled up on, Fed Fighters, because both Natasha and I wanted to run them at times. Probably should get a second Prototype 01, the Romulan drone ship, and probably should get a second Alpha Hunter now that there's 3 of us playing from the same stuff, but those are low priority. Gornaris, lots of Gornarises, 3 of those. 2 Reklars. 2 Ratoshas, because Bajoran Militia is still awesome. And I'm still looking. And then, of course, the double Bioship Beta, double Quark's Treasure, double Delta Flyer. That's it. That's all I doubled up on in 2015. So, yeah, that kind of tells you that 2015 had some really awesome releases, but they weren't necessarily filled with great generic cards. No, USS Hood for Type 8 phasers. Oh yeah, and Lakota for upgraded. Wanted multiples of those. Same with Bioship Omega. Tons of good generic cards there. But as far as retail goes, nothing that necessarily had to have tons and tons of extras. The only thing that I say that you really have to buy multiples of, Delta Flyer. That's probably the top expansion to buy multiples of. And that's probably a good award for the Warp Core Breach this next year. Is top expansion to buy more than once. um, how do I store my collection? I've talked about this before, but I'll do it again. I have 5 Plano 5231 cases. Those are the red cases with the white clear tops. So the tops have little dividers for everything. So I have them sorted kind of by factions. And so I have Federation in their own box, and then I have like Klingon and Bioship species in another, and Dominion and Bajoran in another, and Romulan and something else. It works. So that's how I store the ships, and the base plates and the dials are spread out in those. I have a bead box for my dice and a set of tokens for 3 people to use at tournaments. And then I have a starter box that holds the maneuver templates, 3 sets of those, 1 cardboard and 2 acrylic sets. And then I have a Star Trek Attack or a Star Trek CCG 1,000 card box that holds my damage decks, my little range laser pointer thingy, flat laser level. That's the term I'm thinking of. That determines arcs and stuff. People at California regionals will see that a lot because it's super easy and super definitive. And then I have a gigantic 5,000 card count box that you typically see for CCGs like Magic. And that is how I store my entire card collection. I know some people love binders, and that makes it easier to flip through. I use Space Dock to flip through everything, see what they are. At this point, I kind of have a lot of cards memorized. And then I just find the cards in my card box. I have everything sorted by faction. Within a faction, I have stuff in ship order by cost, and then by captain order by skill, and then talents, crew, weapon, tech. That's my order. Borg upgrades go in there after talents, before crew. Question marks go at the back. Fighters go behind that. And then I keep all my doubles and stuff in a side box, and all my spare price ships in another side box for trading and stuff. And then I've got the big models, Deep Space Nine, the big Borg cube up top. And once I get the Weapon Zero, it'll go up on top of a bookshelf next to those ships. And I also have my Shapeways models up there. My 3, my Titan, my Aventine Vesta class, and my NX refit, which look very pretty because I had them repainted by Don, my painter. So it's quite cool. I have far too much stuff, But yeah, I also have a box full of my campaign rocks and another thing for the campaign that you'll see uh, probably in game 2 or 3. Uh, we'll see. We'll see how that all works. But yeah, that's how I have my collection all set up. It just sits in the corner of my room, and along with some extra boxes of map elements and stuff because I'm the TO and I get all the leftover stuff and then I bring it to tournaments and I'm like, oh hey, here, you're new, you can use this pile of stuff. And oh, you don't want that? Okay, fine, I'll hold on to that. It all works. Um, what else? Oh, Warp Core Breach behind the scenes. How much do you guys want to know? Um, I will talk you through what my normal week looks like for Warp Core Breach. So, contributors submit their segments typically by Sunday night. Sometimes that gets a little blurry, but let's say contributors get everything to me by Sunday at midnight. I spend Sunday evening editing a lot of their stuff. Not all of it, most of it. Nick and I record on a Monday evening. Uh, I will then edit our talk on Monday after we're done. That gets most of the way done. Tuesday night, I'll edit the rest of it. Uh, Wednesday night's my board game. After board game night, I'll probably do a little bit more editing. Thursday, everything gets finished editing, put together, and then the podcast gets released Friday morning. Of course, there's conversations throughout the week that are like, hey, this is the topic coming up, or what do we want to talk about, or what can we talk about? What news is there? No, there's no news. Oh, we should figure out a topic. Oh, we've got this list of standby topics. Okay, we can go from there. We have our questions of the week and top 3 list figured out until like May or June. It's pretty far out there. We've got it figured out basically to like episode 50. And that's without the exception for wave releases. So we've probably got it figured out until about episode 55. Although now that they're slowing down wave releases, maybe not so much. But point there being is, hey, we do a lot of planning ahead of time, and the more we plan ahead, the less stress there is when it comes to editing and getting it all put together. And I'm watching the community and I'm always on the look for new contributors, and that's how I've gotten a hold of a lot of the people you hear doing segments. That's how the academy started with John Knopf. Is we just started talking and it was like, hey, I like playing Faction Pure. I'm like, hey, that would be an awesome segment. And I've had a ton of requests for a Faction Pure segment, but I don't play that way, so I can't do it. And Nick doesn't play that way, so he can't do it. And I don't really know people that play that way. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but John played that way, and he could do a segment. So I'm like, okay, do it, try it, see how you like it. And he did it, and it sounds reasonably good. And I'm like, okay, cool. Um, John Victor started doing the Would Be Nices, and he plays in my venue, and it's a cool idea. I like the custom, the dream card aspect of things. That's a really fun thing to have in the show. I think it changes stuff up, and we were brainstorming at an OP. We got done with a match, and we were like, "Hey, I want to do a segment on your show." I'm like, "Cool. What do you want to talk about?" He's like, "I want to do dream cards." I'm like, "Awesome." That's how that got started. Um, Dan, who does our OP previews, he just messaged, he emailed Warp Core Breach, and he was like, "Hey, I want to do this." And I didn't check Warp Core Breach email for like 2.5 weeks, and he thought we were ignoring him. And I went back, and I'm like, "No, really, we want you. Like, we want a contributor. You'd be awesome. That's something that would be really cool to have." Um, and the cool thing is, he's in high school, and he adds a great fresh perspective, and I love hearing what he brings to the table, and that's just such a cool thing to have. Like, there's people from all over the world of all kinds of age groups who play this, and it's just such an awesome setup. And we got started with a few guys, and half of them have had to move on to other things because life's busy. That's why Francisco stopped, and because his job got busier. It's just that happens. But he was a great contributor, and fortunately, David Griffin, who does the missions, is retired, and I wouldn't have it any other way, because I've kind of said there's about 4 pillars to Warp Core Breach, and what keeps it flowing for me. And I'm not going to name names, but there's people I definitely count on, and I couldn't do the show without them. I mean, I probably could, because other people would step up and fill in, but the show just wouldn't sound the same without certain people being around, certain segments existing. And that's the thing, and it's the mission statement we started off is: this is for the community, by the community, and hopefully we've done a good job to be a part of the community, to serve your interests, to be a part of something that that you guys want. And the fact that you guys are still listening tells me that's something that continues to interest you and be a part of stuff. So um okay, what ships do I still want to see in this game? um I should have my list ready to go. Columbia and XO2. Really want to see that. Another trip card, Captain Hernandez, um, Engineer Kelby, stuff like that. That's a really high up their list for me. Is the Columbia? That would be an awesome ship. Plus another NX. It would just be a cool thing to do, and they could do it as a prize pack. I mean, I'd love to have the NX and the Enterprise and the Columbia models separate. Um, but if they had to do it as a prize pack, if it was that or not get it at all, I'd rather get it as a prize pack and have to go buy another NX. I'll do that. I guess I don't technically have to because I have my Shapeways model, but meh. I would also love to see. Now I'm on a kick to get the Sao Paulo, the essentially the Defiant 2, because I think that they could do that and fix the Defiant. They could add pulse phasers. They can give me a Federation Captain Worf. They can give me a Captain Jadzia Dax. because we don't need another Captain Sisko at this point. Or even give me a Fed Captain Kira. That would be a thing. But Fed Captain Worf for sure. Um, a, a better Nog, uh, a different Bashir, a different O'Brien, and I think that could be a very interesting ship. Um, I want to see something with Lursa and B'Etor. I wouldn't mind it being the whole Generations cast, because that gets me. Um, I forget the villain's name. Was it Soren? Something like that. Anyways, the guy from the evil guy from Generations. Uh, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd much prefer the Klingon Civil War version. Uh, I think they were much better at that point. But if they want to go the Generation side of it, give me the Generation side of it. Of course, I still want to see Sela, whichever way you want to pronounce it, Tasha's daughter. Um, I would like to see the Yamato, another Galaxy class. I know we're slated to get the Venture. I don't have ties to the Venture. There's nothing in Star Trek lore that says, "Oh yeah, okay." The Yamato actually means something to me from Star Trek. So there's that. Um, I'm kind of partial now to the idea of getting the Rhode Island, which was Harry Kim's ship in Endgame, the Voyager finale, because that would give us a Captain Harry Kim. This gives us some future stuff, which is some more mirror stuff. That would be really awesome. I'd love to see a Tellarite ship just to flesh out some more Enterprise era stuff. Um, since who knows what's going on with reprints and announced ships, uh, I'll I'll say it just to reinforce the notion. Really want to make sure we get a Romulan Stormbird. You know, the borrowed Klingon D7 model, um, that cloaks. I think that's a very necessary thing. The Romulans need a mid tier ship, especially a 4-hull ship that can support fighters. That's, if Romulan fighters are ever going to be a thing, and I don't know that they are, but if they ever are, the Romulans need a 4-hull ship. Um, I'd like to see the Bortos as another Vorcha class. That was Gowron's flagship in the Klingon Civil War time. Mostly because that would give us another Gowron card, um, and some other Klingon crew, and it might even give us Picard as the Arbiter of Succession, as a Klingon crew or a Klingon admiral. I don't know how you'd fit that in mechanic wise. It could open the door to a political leader mechanic, which is something I've been messing around with in some custom work. So, that being said, I do have Warp Core Breach custom cards. If anyone's interested, you can send me a message, and I'll give you the Dropbox link for that. Um, I should post them in the custom community, but anyways, if you're interested, let me know, and I'll send you a link so you can download those and print them yourself. I can't print them for you and send them to you or anything because that's copyright stuff. But if you want them, I can say, hey, here you go. Um, what else? What else? What else? Are there any other ships? Um, I mean, the Gom 2, Tin Man would be cool. A Husnock ship. Another Keldon. That would be good. And I guess that's kind of the problem I have with reprints, especially of unique ships like the Coronac and the Borg Sphere 4270, is why not just give us a new named ship, even if it has some of the same generic upgrades? Um, Meh. That's a tangent I don't necessarily want to get into, but give us new stuff in the pack and reprint the ship. Whatevs. Um. Oh, what kind of mats do I have? I have a 3x3 grip mat, the Nebula something Nebula. It's you see it on my tournament videos. And then I also have a vinyl mat from Applied Perspectives, and I have four mats that I got from a Kickstarter that uh, I forget the name of the company that did it, but it's two. Well, at least one guy's an astrophotographer, and they're gorgeous. The artwork is amazing, and I love what's there. Um, I I don't get to see them as often as I want because we don't play with them all. I use the grip mat for one, and then depending on turnout, we use one or two more mats. But um, you know, regionals they're all going to be out, which is awesome. Uh, that's that's the best part for me. Um, what else? Oh, I did want to mention this. This is my own volition now. Um, this summer or fall, there are two Star Trek board games that are coming out. WizKids is doing Star Trek Frontiers, which looks intriguing. I don't know a ton about it, um, other than it follows Mage Knight, which is an interesting board game. And then Gale Force 9 is doing Star Trek Ascendancy, which has Klingon Romulan Federation forces in the main box, and then a Ferengi expansion and a Cardassian expansion straight away. And that is going to be a 4X game, which, if you've never heard of 4X, it's expand, exploit, exterminate, and something else. Um, but the notion there is basically it's kind of like Age of Empires in space, or or civilization. It's grow and conquer and build up tech and uh, have a good time with your friends, and you have stuff going on, and it looks like a really fun game. I sent an email to GF9 and said, "Hey, I'd love to be involved with this thing. I'd love to play test if it can still be play tested, or I'd love to do a review, an advanced copy to preview for my audience." And I think that the shipyard audience would enjoy seeing it beforehand. And so who knows? I don't know if that'll lead to anything, but I figured it couldn't hurt to ask. So hopefully, hopefully that'll amount to something. I still love Star Trek Attack Wing, but I'd love to branch out a little bit. I used to write a board game blog, um, That's Bits of Board Games, if anybody cares to go hunting for what I used to do. But then Star Trek Attack Wing kind of took over, and life hit me, and I couldn't serve two areas of interest and do everything else I was trying to do. So, uh, anyways, I still love playing board games. I just realized I loved playing board games more than I loved writing about board games. Whereas Attack Wing, I love playing and I love talking about it and podcasting and the editing and all of that. So, um, and I love board games differently, and I think it's okay to have that. Um, anyways, I'm rambling, but I think since the chat is running dry and people aren't necessarily talking unless there's something I'm not seeing with chat. Um, and I'll check something else to see if I'm missing something. Oh, I am missing something with chat. I could not see everything here. Okay. That is annoying. Okay. There we go. John M. Big, I see you saying Soren, Guinan, Demora from Generations. There we go. Thank you. And John Victor, nice to see you in chat. Okay, now I can see chat. This is much, much better. I'm still working out all the kinks of live chat. Uh, but okay, I'm gonna wrap things up here in 5 minutes because I've got two guys at the game store who are testing out stuff for regionals, and they want to see me, and that's and I want to get over there and say hi. So at 2:40 my time, I'm gonna end this. I know I'm sorry. I would love to. I would love to stick around and Serge. I am always happy to answer questions. And believe me, interacting with fans is one of the things that I strive to do. No matter how big this channel ever gets, I will attempt to make every effort to answer every single question that gets posted here. Um, I say that now, and if this channel ever blew up to 200,000 subscribers, um, I don't know that I could do that. But while we're still growing here, I feel like it is super important to engage with the fans, and I love hearing from you guys because you guys make me enjoy what I do, and you give purpose to what I do. I wouldn't keep doing this if it didn't mean something to you guys. Oh, hold on. With they? They is on the Temet. Didn't I put out the Temet preview? Oh, okay. You're saying you haven't played the Void yet. Yeah. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, he's a cool 1 point card. I like what he does. Just to be able to do cloak one time for free, like that's a thing that needs to be done better. Yeah, I feel like the Temet is almost the start of somebody new kind of designing for attack wing until you get to intercept, which is just bad. Just a bad talent. Um, like Romulans are not nearly as bad as Klingons in terms of their bad talents, but they're so close. Um, at least Romulans have amazing crew. Between Tay and Romulan security officers and Romulan helmsman and Romulan pilot and even Centurion is a pretty good crew, and of course Varel, because you can't talk about Romulan crew without talking about Varel. Um, Romulans have some really nice crew. Klingons have some nice crew too. Don't get me wrong. Drex and Garen, Worf. Worf's not as good of a crew as his captain. Alexander's not bad. Some of the new crew on the Amar are at least interesting. You can build around them. But Klingon talents short of Qapla' are defense condition 1 is a really nice talent, and once more into the breach, the movement 1. That's a reasonable talent. It's an expensive talent, but it's reasonable. But so many other Klingon talents are just like, why? Why is that 5 points? Why is that an action and a discard? Why is that a action discard, spin around on the ground, pat your tummy 3 times and go steal the baseball cap off of the guy standing across the store? It feels like they just have ridiculous requirements. Yeah, that's my thing with Klingons is they're just gonna get hammered and not in the good way. They're not gonna get drunk. Um, it's, they, I Klingons are like one solid release short of being back in competitive play, like being way back into the really good to use um, frame. They need a defensive card. Alexander's close in that you can get battle stations and you save those battle stations for defense. But Klingons need something like an interface generator or like a Klingon cloaking technician, which would be something like while cloaked convert or while cloaked reroll all your blank results, or while cloaked reroll any dice of your choosing. They need like a defensive target lock. Um, or even like a combat vessel variant, except like a stealth vessel variant that would do it. So it doesn't raise their attack dice; it raises their defense dice, and it gives them some kind of a defensive perk. You do that, and Klingons would be right back in it. And if you're really worried about it, make it so that they can't equip it on a Vorcha or a Negvar. Put it on like a 4-hull or less ship. There we go, cloaked vessel variant. Yeah, so then it only works while cloaked, and Maybe it gives them Sensor Echo for free. So let them Sensor Echo for free and convert like one Blanker Battle Station result to an evade every round. Not each time you defend, but just once per round. Like that would be a reasonable card. Even if you make it like a 6-point card, you could make it each time you defend. That would be a thing. Um, and yeah, John, sometimes WizKids feels like they're trying way too hard to stick too close to an upgrades theme. Um, they do. They do. And I was having this discussion with somebody. Uh, you, when you're designing this game purely for theme, which I feel like they're doing now, you lose the competitive play. Look at the last several waves of releases and tell me any release, or tell me what the last release is that has shaped competitive play as a whole. There isn't really one. The Hathaway is probably the last release that really changed competitive play. And that's probably more by accident than intentional design. Oh, sorry, John, let me clarify the Vorcha thing. The only reason I'd want to do that is because there's a stigma that there's a stigma from early on in the game that the Vorchas were way too good while cloaked. Now there's a lot of stuff out there that really hurts cloaked mines, uh, magnetometric guided charges. Oh, Sensor Echo with one bank, that would be cool. Um, but there's enough out there that hurts cloaked that it's there. What you don't want to do is for people who cross faction, you don't want people to be able to put it on the scimitar, and you don't want people to be able to use like the advanced cloaking device from Romulans from the Vor de Vor to put it on Klingons to make the permacloak builds. So you need some balance to to tie it in. Yeah, I guess you could make it a 5-hole or less, and then it's no scimitars. Um, yeah, and another thing I've been trying to push lately is to say that they need to incorporate X-Wing's boost action, which is action perform a 1 straight or bank. And if you do that, um, it gives fighters another action, and it would give small ships, Bajoran interceptors, Klingon Barrels, and a few others a, a different thing to do. And maybe it just is an upgrade, but yeah, Serge, I understand. I understand. Not everyone's a fan of cross faction builds, but some people play that way, and I found a balance in that both ways have legitimacy, and it just depends on who you are. So I've stopped. I've learned to not. Um, I've learned to not uh, try to control who does what. I've learned to just kind of say, "Hey, what's fun for you?" And if it's fun for you, then it can be fun for me, and and then everybody's having fun. So, hey, Jim. Yeah, that's the thing, John. Um, is you when you're talking about designing the game, you have to be aware that people cross faction, and if you do cross faction stuff, if you design and you say, "Oh, nobody ever cross factions," you have problems as soon as people cross faction, and that's how you get insanity, and that's why conditional surrender was a problem and needed errata um, to make it a discard, which is probably how it should have been all along. But people weren't abusing it until some of the stuff that came out more recently, like the Pegasus and all of the ways to get additional text slots for Shroud and stuff like that. And when you're able to go and demonstrate to WizKids and you say, hey, there's a way to make conditional surrender usable 7 times, and by your rulings, you can use it for 7 consecutive attacks, and you just shut your opponent down. Um, that's why they errated conditional surrender. Um, was the work of the Fellowship of the Rules. Is we created the problem before it was a problem. We did it in thought process, and then we presented the case. We researched their rulings. We said, "Okay, WizKids, you need to look at this. You need to figure it out." And they came back with their answer, and we said, "Great, that's an answer everybody can live with." So, uh, Jim, to answer your question, the regionals in California are tomorrow. That's why I'm doing the live stream today. So, okay, Serge, I understand. There's about 6 of us where I play, and you can ask John Victor. He plays where I play, but I, I'd like to say that we're not necessarily cheese hunters. We find different things to do. Like I personally never run the same exact list twice. I will use aspects of the same list multiple times, but I always try to shake things up. I always try to innovate and push myself, and I'm trying to find things. But if I lose, if I get beaten down, I'm okay with that. I'm always looking to learn. Uh, yeah, Jim, the AMR is very disappointing. The model looks gorgeous. I was able to hold it in my hands yesterday. I saw all of Wave 23, and my reaction is, boy, those models look pretty. Um, the AMR has some cool crew, and that's about that. Oh, Aeropure. Okay, Aeropure. Um, let's see. Enterprise era used to be that Vulcans were like the top dog. But now I think it would be really, really interesting. The Xindi weapon has turned a lot on its head. Um, and Xindi itself has really shaken that up. And the Kumari. I think of all the ways to play Arapir, Enterprise era would be the most interesting way to play it. Um, that yeah, I Xindi would probably be the top dog because of the aquatic cruiser and the weapon ship. But I feel like they could be beaten. I feel like yeah, John Victor's got the right thing. It's exactly what Xindi did in the show. They turned things on their head. Um, yeah, Klingons are out of luck there because they just have the Samra. Hopefully, we'll see some more Enterprise era Klingons at some point. Um, yeah, don't try to make a fleet of Samra Raptors work. They're not going to. You need the bird of prey to really make it work. Problem is, I just don't know how you stat that thing. WizKids kind of put themselves in a hole or backed themselves into a corner when they did that with the stats. Is you just don't have anywhere to go. But I would really like to play Enterprise era here. I think that could be a lot of fun. Um, TOS era. If you just play TOS, um, I think there could be a lot of fun there too, because that's going to be Fed versus. Well, I'd want to play TOS plus TMP, bring in the motion picture stuff. Um, so then you bring in, you've got Tiny Prize plus the Intrepid plus Excelsior. That's the bulk of the Federation. You've got the Klingons, which aren't amazing. You've got the Galgathon, the Vortivore. Once the Romulans get a Stormbird, they'd be better. And then you've got the Gorn. You could have Tholians. You've got the Mirror Constitution that could be interesting. Um, so I think that TOS plus TMP could be fun. Um, and then once you get past that, it essentially becomes what you see in OPs. So in free for all. Well, yeah, well, okay. So John Victor saying Klingon permacloak swarms become powerhouses again. Yes, but there's, at least as far as feds are concerned, there's more ways to get scan enhancement done. And when you have scan enhancers, Klingons are loath to cloak. And at that point, you at least have an interesting match. Yeah, so another comment is the license needs to be examined entirely, not allowing WizKids to use things from the expanded continuity, Star Trek Online, other sources, I'll add, like the books. really limits some races, Ferengi especially. You're right. The problem there is what's canon, what's not. I'm with you. I would love to see some of the Star Trek Online ships, especially for Ferengi, for some of the Klingon ships, some of the Romulan ships would be great. Um, and you do that, and then they become actually important when it comes to a combat game, rather than a race like the Ferengi just sitting in the back. Uh, and yeah, Jim, you're right. We need some new maneuvers. X-wing is doing it. They're innovating. They're adding that three bank come about. I don't know what they call it, but you do a three bank, and then at the end of a bank, you flip your ship 180. And it's a red move, but some ships can do that. Why can't we have something like that in Attack Wing? And tell me where it's written that every ship has to have 15 moves. That seems weird to me. So, I don't know. I don't I don't understand. Thank you. The S loop. Um, Segner's loop. Okay. Yeah, and it's the same thing. They need the boost action and and different things. And there's so many ways to easily improve this game that wouldn't take a lot of effort. Um, and I think allowing some ships to do a sensor echo without being cloaked and without it using their perk, their ship trait, would be another really good thing. More ships need to use the one hard turn, and more ships need to have a rear firing arc. Some ships should have the ability to shoot out the rear firing arc with their primary weapon, or maybe even primary weapon minus one attack die or something. These are capital ships. It's not that hard to do. Um, yeah. Actually, I think the Oberth class might be slightly smaller than the Defiant, at least lengthwise. I'm sure height messes it up, but yeah, close enough. Yeah. So an upgrade that adds firing arcs to ships without them somehow. Sure. Or a captain that says you can fire torpedoes, or you can fire your primary weapon or your secondary weapon uh, outside of your primary arc at minus one die. Um, that wouldn't be the worst thing. It, the problem, and we're going to do this on a warp core breach in a little bit, several weeks, but the biggest problem I have with secondary weapons, torpedoes specifically, is the action economy. Having to target lock and not getting that quality for your shot isn't worth it. It's the same reason I have a problem with any action that says add 1 attack die. It's not a worthwhile action. I'd rather have quality over quantity. I'd rather make sure that 4 dice hit rather than 5 dice maybe hit. And it's just it's a rough sell. It's now if you told me that all ships were limited in primary firing arc, primary range at 1 to 2, Borg were limited to range 1, and that torpedoes were the only way to get out to range 3, then we'd have a different game, and then photon torpedoes might actually be worth taking. That's perhaps a radical thought, but yeah, and I mean Karen Ferris for Feds is a start in the right direction. You can disable her instead of spending your target lock. The problem is she's 4 points. And 4 points is too much to pay for a crew that disables. If she was put like 2 time tokens on this card instead of spending your target lock so that you get her back about the same time you get your torpedoes back, but you couldn't use her every round, that would be worthwhile. But again, the disable for 4 points. Yeah. And Jim, this is where the Wandering In and I agree. I think Paul Gibbons was the first guy to really push this rule, was exploding dice torpedoes. If you roll a natural crit with your torpedo dice, roll another die for every crit you roll. If those are crits, keep doing it and keep adding that damage. It really makes a difference, and it makes torpedoes a lot of fun. And the reason I love that rule is because it's 2 things. It is thematic to torpedoes doing damage, and it keeps the game fun. And anytime the game is fun, you're doing it right. And both sides still find that fun because you're going, oh, I really hope you don't roll crits. I really hope I roll crits. Oh no, you rolled crits. No. And look, would it really stink to lose a game because your opponent shot at your 7/7 sphere and ended up rolling like 4 crits and 1 hit with a torpedo, and then rolled 3 more crits and then 3 more crits and then 1 more hit, and your ship's just decimated? Yeah, it would. But you know what? You would both have an epic tale to tell at the end of that game. And maybe you are very bitter about it for a while. But at some point, you are sitting there and going, wait a minute. I was just part of something epic. Absolutely epic. And that is, I mean, that's just something you're never going to have. So, and that gives you a reason. Torpedoes are exploding dice torpedoes are then a reason to spend 5 points. You know, I took them in the first campaign game with the Ferengi. I got off a couple of shots. I rolled no crits. I think one time I didn't even roll a single hit. And that's just life. That's going to happen. You're going to have sucky dice rolls. You are going to want to curse your dice. You are going to want to throw your dice across the room and not want to go pick them up. That's going to happen. And you know what? Other times, your dice are going to be on fire, and you are going to want to protect them with your life. The reality is they are dice, they are random, and the truth of the dice is somewhere in the middle. But that's what's fun. All right. See, this is why I love Star Trek Attack Wing. You guys are fun. I said I was leaving 30 minutes ago, and I'm still here. And Jim, you just hit the nail on the head. If you ain't having fun, why play? I don't have a good answer. I mean, I guess there's competition, but if you're not having fun, even in competition, why are you playing? No, it's not my job to tell you what's fun. You can have fun in a totally different way than I have fun. We don't have to have fun in the same way. No, we should both be enjoying ourselves, and it's not a matter of mocking somebody. And oh, okay, that's the last question, Joe. How do I see the game in 6 months? So 6 months puts us in the end of August. Yeah, end of August. So Gen Con will have happened. I think, for one, I'll get the elephant out of the room. The game's still alive. I think WizKids announces a new core set. I think that's where they're heading here. I think they're going to redo the core set, because if they're doing repaints with core models, they're going to redo the starter set, because the starter set models look terrible. The quality of the cards are not up to par. They got to redo the core set. Whether or not they're going to do a whole new one or just a repaint core set, I'm not sure. But it's going to be something different. Something other than what they currently have. Beyond that, I think that we're going to still see the prize packs of cards. We're not going to see as many models for OP stuff. And I think that people will grow to be okay with that. I don't think they're going to love it. I don't think that that's ever going to be a I don't think that the OP being packs is ever going to be a true selling feature. However, I rewind. If the game had always been that way, if they had always said, hey, this is a different pack of stuff for a model that's already in the game, and that had been the way OP stuff worked from day one, nobody would have ever had a problem with it. Because you know what? It still beats what X-Wing does with alt art stuff. So Attack Wing Organized Play is still light years better than X-Wing Organized Play in that you get new stuff. And I'm not trying to down X-Wing. I'm not hating on it. I'm saying one of the things that Attack Wing Star Trek does better is that they do organized play prizes better. No, we can complain about the quality of the cards and that they're not all that useful, but essentially you're getting free stuff for winning or participation. Don't look the gift horse in the mouth. I would love to see another core set. So, in addition to the original core set, I'd love to see another core set, either 3 new factions or the same 3 Fed Klingon Romulan with 3 either new ships entirely or 3 of the old price ships. Um, Ideally, like the Chitang, the Hood, and uh, the I don't know. I don't know which Romulan you want. Um, Pick a Romulan ship. I was thinking, since you're going Hood, Excelsior class, Chitang, Bird of Prey, you can go older era, and then it's more thematic. But there's no good Romulan older era prize ship. I mean, you could go Vor de Vor to be, but that's a booster. So, um, hmm. Core set without an Enterprise doesn't make sense, and it's no longer core. Um, in a way, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't feel right without an Enterprise, but I don't know. I'm of two minds because yeah, there's no way they'd put the Enterprise C in the core in a core pack. Um, I mean, granted, that would be a great selling feature for a lot of us who've been in this game a long time. I think we'd all buy it the day it came out. We'd go, yeah, gimme now. Um, I'm kind of two minds though. You WizKids can call it a core set, and whatever they say is a core set is a core set. But I'm with you. I definitely hear what you're saying in that, um, it should be an Enterprise. But people said Deep Space Nine wasn't going to work as a show because it didn't have the Enterprise, or it didn't even have a starship to start. Voyager didn't have Enterprise. Um, I mean, hey, I don't want to get the hate on Voyager. That's to each their own. But yeah, I mean, you could put the Enterprise B in there. That would be a thing. I mean, they already have the model, so yeah, there's tons of really good ideas for that. Um, yeah, I like what's there. There's I do think another core set's coming. And I think that I, I think and I hope that this game has a very long life ahead of it. We might be more than halfway through the life of this game. Even if that is the case, I think we're all okay with that. I mean, we are well past the 100 ship mark. Uh, and I think if you had told any of us starting out that this game would hit 23 waves of new ships plus all the prize ships, we'd all be happy. I don't know. I don't know that the end is in sight. I, I don't think so. I mean, they've announced reprints up through January of 2017. Now, granted, those are every other month, but I will say this: they wouldn't have commissioned the Borg cube with the sphere slot if they were trying to end the game. They wouldn't be making that. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, I think X-Wing's on wave 7 or 8. I think they've maybe announced wave 9. Um, so here's the thing, Joe. The game will go on because there are too many people who love this game and have a passion for this game to let it die. Just like Star Trek CCG ended in like 2007, it's still going with a community run design team. And they still hold national tournaments. I don't I don't fully know what the future will hold, but I've already had rumblings of, hey, if this game ever does end, yeah, if this game ever does end, we want to do a continuing committee, and I would love to be on that. And I'll, if I'm still around and doing this game and loving what's here, I'll I'll be the head of it because I'm kind of the one of the big media people for the game, and I'm not trying to give myself a big head here and inflate my ego. I think a lot of people um, know who I am, and if I said, "Hey, this is the continuing committee. This is what we're doing in terms of keeping this game going. If you care, if you want to see what we're doing, if you want to be a part of it, here it is." But those are plans that don't need to happen until WizKid says it's done. So um, until then, we see what WizKids has, and WizKids. I think Wave 24, whatever they bring out in Wave 24, we will find out in May. So they're taking April off. Wave 23 officially hits in March. So sometime in May, Wave 24 comes out. When that comes out, we will find out what this game will look like going forward. We know that there's at least one reprint with Kirk's Enterprise, the tiny, well, formerly known as Tiny Prize. And after that, who knows what else is there? And we'll see. We'll see what all hits. But yeah, that's what's there for the future. And until then, the shipyard will keep on going. Warp Core Breach will keep on going. We've got a ton of stuff. If WizKids is going to relaunch the whole thing and the new ships are just the first wave of their redo plans, then WizKids is going to have a lot of very upset people who have bought a lot of cards, and they better have a very cheap conversion pack for everybody who's bought everything. Because in a game like this, you don't screw over your customer base if you want to keep going. Now, you want to start putting out new stuff in a different form, that's fine. Yeah, I think that's probably more the case. They got tired of FFG having the pretty ships. They can't sell head to head based on looks. And yeah. Yeah, I mean, sorry, you're saying uh-oh, and I'm not 100% sure what you're getting at. I'll just come out right now and say it. If WizKids redoes and makes this Attack Wing 2.0, and they want people to rebuy everything that they've already put out, and they say you have to buy this in order to play in tournaments or you can't use the cards, I'm out. I'm done with this game officially. I will run 1.0 tournaments. I will run Star Trek Attack Wing 1.0. Could they be from the Abrams verse? I doubt it. The license they have does not cover the JJ movies, and anything that would cover those would almost have to be a different game. They once had the JJ license. They did a board game called Star Trek Expeditions, but I don't think that they have that license anymore. I mean, I would find it interesting. I think they'd need to do it as a whole new faction, but yeah, Victor, I'd be cool with 1.5 card packs. Give me an errata card pack for everything. I'll pay. Um, I'd probably pay. mm, Depends on how many errata packs you do, but the whole thing better cost me under $50 to convert everything I need into whatever version you want me to have. Better be under, yeah, under $50. Yeah, Jim, I wouldn't want the JJ ships to be mirror because they wouldn't conflict. I'd want them to be like, um, not prime, but just different. It needs to be like anomaly or temporal displacement. It needs to just be a different aspect. Oh, just the conversion. I'll buy a new core set at whatever cost, $40. That's fine. Because then I'm getting models and templates and dice and stuff. I'm just talking about card packs. Um, I guess I have a little flexibility on the card packs, but if it's upwards of $100, what am I getting for that? Essentially, I'm buying card packs that I already have. They're just printed fixes when essentially they could give me a PDF and say, hey, you have to have the original card, sleeve it, and put this PDF printout in front of it. Like at that point, I'm spending $5 at a print shop to get the stuff printed and cut, and that's easier for me and cheaper, and they're gonna sell it to me for 50 plus bucks. Like, just give me the PDF. But Anyways, hey, so logistics tomorrow, regionals at California. I do have the capacity to do live streaming from my phone. So I will be doing snippets. Tucker may also be doing some snippets. He's going to be co-judging with me. And so we'll have that going around. Just not too much of games, but like, hey, you just got done with your game. How'd it go? Stuff like that. I'm going to be recording a bunch of stuff for Warp Core Breach, and we're going to have that going. So it's going to be a great time. Thank you guys so much for coming out, and I'm so glad I found the chat, albeit late. I was getting some stuff throughout, questions from Facebook, and that's how I was answering questions early on. But you guys are great. So tune into the Shipyard throughout the day tomorrow. The event starts properly at about noon. We won't be live streaming right away, but kind of as we get a flow, especially once we hit top 8. This is Pacific time. So top 8, figure we're aiming at about 4:30, maybe 5. Somewhere in there. That's when we're going to be doing cut to top 8, and then we're also going to do side events at that point. So we'll have some coverage there. We'll have some coverage throughout the day. You guys are awesome. Thank you for coming out for this. I so much appreciate it. And whatever you're not able to catch, it'll be archived on the channel. Again, you guys are awesome. I never expected to see 12 people on live. And yes, the Open Galaxy project, I saw that pop up on the community, and that looks amazing. They are playing a galaxy of Attack Wing, and they've played 50 battles, and it has shaped the flow of the galaxy. And that looks amazing. I wish they could translate it into English. But yeah, that is just such a cool thing. But yeah, at this point I'm rambling, but again, you guys are great. Don't forget, if you're able to, go support us on Patreon if you can. It's patreon.com/Staw Shipyard, STAW Shipyard. You can check that out. There's some cool perks. You don't feel like you have to. It's just something that's out there. You help keep us going, pay for podcast hosting fees, and there's other things like getting me a better mic and some other cool projects that are there. So again, thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. And until next time, we'll see you around the shipyard. Take care.